everybody. This is Paul doing a quick market breakdown on this Friday, the 26th. Um, Wanted to wait to do a video until the market was open so I can kind of give you just a simple idea of like what's going on, that kind of stuff, and then kind of review my March gains, which are pretty significant. Um, Thanks to a combination of stimulus, regular checks, just market outperformance, and then tax return. Um, so just kind of go over any kind of weekly moves I've made here. So right now I'm recording this video. I think I'm recording. Am I recording? Yes, I'm recording. While this market is open, I've broken the $52,000 mark. Which I believe, I am not sure. I always should look this up before I post these videos or before I do these videos. But my last video, I was at 51,473. And the only thing I've done since then regarding transfers and whatnot, um, I did like a $50 one there. And then, yeah, I really haven't added too much, because still, I get paid like everybody else. So I've only added just one little transfer there out of my, just a regular transfer. Um, so the roughly almost $1,000 in a week is just from holding value stocks. Um, and It's just been a really good time to hold value stocks as you see this rotation out of technology as it continues to underperform. And you might ask, what do I mean by underperform? Year to date, if you go and you look just year to date, um, this time last year, this number was like 12, 13% or something. It was something crazy. I mean, still, if you put it on a 1 year, it's ridiculous how high technology is compared to everything else. Even, but if you take it out 2 years, but I mean, yeah, either way, it's not been overperforming. It's been actually kind of underperforming, and then the reasons are fairly simple. It takes a lot of debt to keep up with these growth companies. A lot of them aren't profitable um, until they do break a profit. It took like 14, 15 years for Amazon to break a profit. To outweigh their debt, and you just have a lot of companies in the Nasdaq that aren't profitable, so they keep getting hit as rates go up. Um, and then so it's just today's a good example of it. Typically last year this would have never happened. What you're seeing right here, where you just see that just the S&P by itself outperforming the Nasdaq, or the Dow Jones, the list of the stocks that are in the Dow Jones outperforming the Nasdaq. That was unheard of last year. Um, so we're having a pretty good morning at the moment. Although, looking at this, see all this on the long end? This is called the long end. When you get into this area here, this is the belly of the curve, right about, well, this is called the belly of the curve. And then you can see rates are kind of going up. Big jumps like this, lately, especially a big jump like that, has been knocking a pretty large amount off of the Nasdaq. So I expect this to fall. It's kind of sad too, because there are some very, very, very profitable companies that are in the Nasdaq, but they get caught up because a lot of people they trade the Nasdaq through ETFs and stuff, and it's just those ETFs have things like Tesla in them and stuff like that. So higher borrowing cost means just the entire Nasdaq gets hit. It's kind of silly how it works, but when people sell one thing because they think it's going to be, less justification of their valuation, you get just kind of this filter through effect, and it affects good companies. And then you also have a few things going on with some Chinese companies recently. I think if I had to guess, that's going to be the next thing that bears talk about. If you listen to Biden's press conference yesterday, it was kind of one thing a lot of people did notice that nobody mentioned the coronavirus. He talked about it. He raised the goal. Here in Louisiana, come Monday, you can get a shot, if you're 16 or older. So what you're seeing right now is the reopening trade. So pretty much um, anything related to the reopening. And what does that mean? So what does that mean is basically something like Coke, for example. Coke is a perfect example. These guys get 20% of their profits from like stadiums, like the Super Bowl, that kind of stuff. So if you look at where Coke was, this is why this has always been an easy one. Whenever I have some extra money, I throw it towards Coke. Not just because they have a great ex-dividend date and a dividend date that they pay out, but I mean, it's just this is one of those simple ones. Previously, prior to the pandemic, they were at $60, and they've been pretty much they went down, and then they pretty much been trading flat. They tried to make a run up on the original vaccine hype, but you can kind of see, like, if stadiums start to reopen again, which they will, especially with the way that the vaccine's rolling out extremely quick. I mean, Biden already said 200 million people by 100 days, so if you kind of get in that general area, if you get anywhere near that, you got 300 million people in the country. Once you hit a herd immunity, you'll start seeing a lot of the mask mandates. You'll start seeing full reopenings. There might be a variant here or there, but there's nothing that can't be solved without a booster shot at this point. Um, so my next guess is the big thing is going to be China. These guys right here. We're going to go back to the old, you know, how's China going to respond to these different things, especially as the pressure, because there's always got to be something new in Washington. So it's either going to be infrastructure, which will be pretty soon, I think, or it's going to be China. So I really don't want to have too much China exposure. Because if you notice what happened yesterday, especially if you hold something like Nike, this is just a good example. So they've had an incredible run up, um, but they had like a pretty large drop yesterday because, you know, China dug up a tweet that they made like a year ago regarding cotton in the Xinjiang region there, and they got hammered. Um, Companies that have a lot of exposure to China could get hit pretty hard if this picks back up. And given Biden's quotes yesterday and how he's trying to do a multilateral approach to it, I could see it happening. A lot of nationalism going on. Um, I don't have too much exposure to China. I do have Caterpillar, but it's only like 7 shares. Um, Pepsi probably, but I don't see people stop drinking Pepsi, but it's entirely possible. Starbucks is one that could get hit. Um, there's just a few. They tend to go after luxury brands. Um, H&M. I think there was another story on here earlier that I saw today where another store had gotten hit by the different things going on. So we're gonna have to see how China kind of, um, where that goes. I have a feeling it's just knowing how these markets work. They always look for the next thing that they like to talk about. So that's kind of my thinking. Um, there's a few things like I can already tell you, like, once the coronavirus story passes, the next thing that they're going to talk about is the same stuff they were talking about before the coronavirus. So is the Fed going to raise rates? You're going to hear that every single day. It's Bloomberg especially. Fed, Fed, Fed. What's the Fed going to do? What's the Fed going to do? Even though the Fed has literally told you we're not doing anything until 2022, and they're like, no, no, the Fed's going to do something. It's all you're going to hear about, especially if rates keep doing these little jumps that they do. Because this isn't normal. They, like I said before in previous videos, these don't go up normally by that much. They go up by a little bit here or there, but they don't normally jump by this much in a day. Um, this has stabilized though. This went up to 1.75 or 1.74 or something like that, and then it's dropped because pension funds are having to jump back in as they rebalance. Because pension funds do not like having most of their portfolio exposed to the stock market. So we'll have to see how that goes. But right now, this is how we're doing. So this is just currently market open, just hitting the refresh button. This is my IRA down here doing really good actually. But yeah, just hitting the refresh button. Let's see what we got here. and it's kind of hard to see trends whenever the market first opens because this has been kind of weird the last few days. Like the last few days, this will be down 300, and then all of a sudden I'll end up like yesterday was a good day. It was basically I was down 300 for most of the day, and then as soon as Europe closed, because Europe is having a horrible reaction, horrible rollout of this vaccine. As soon as Europe closed, the market took off. It's been like that the last few days. So that's how like I'm pretty much up like basically a grand or almost a grand in less than a week. It's been that pretty much that little repeat. So it'll start down, or in the last few days it started down. So I'm actually kind of hesitant right now because right now it's starting up. So this has been kind of it's been kind of a weird trend. So like the last few days, this has been down, like because people have been piling in the bonds, which means the borrowing cost goes down, and the market starts down and then goes up. Now today is the exact opposite. This is up by actually a lot, and then this is starting up, which makes me kind of wonder if this is going to kind of reverse. Because what happens is, if you wonder what happens is when people take losses in here, the Nasdaq, because they're so heavily exposed to it still, um, and they're going to stay exposed to it. But a lot of people have leverage, a lot of margin, that kind of stuff. So when they start taking losses in the Nasdaq on the bets that they made over here, they have to take their good stocks. So that would be selling stuff. You would sell the good stuff that you own in the Dow or that kind of stuff. So it's called a hedge, um, or it's a way of hedging. You basically sell your winners to you know make up for your losses on your loser, especially if you get margin called, which is hilarious. Um, you have to be doing some risky bets to do that. But see, this is a interesting kind of day. So it looks like a rotation's happening right now, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna post this video probably with this number right here, but probably by the end of the day, this number might be down like 200 or 300 or something. I don't know. People like to kind of sell going into a weekend too. But another thing I wanted to go over, um, just looking at my estimated income. So thinking long term, the way that so that's kind of my bills right there. All of these can be paid by the first. These are just two loans that I took out for home improvements and stuff like that. This whole little area right here is just loans I took out for home improvement. Um, so this right here adds up to 316, and I was doing this math the other day. So this adds up to 316. Currently, I'm getting 130, give or take a month. And then on my, the quarterlies, I'm getting 183, which is a really nice number. Free money, basically. Still taxed. And then I do have a VA check. So it's like 316 minus 144. So I need basically about 180 or so a month. Where's my little calculator? So I think that was right. I believe that's right. Doing this live. And then you subtract out 144. So it's basically how much I need right around the first every month. So thinking long term. So if I ever wanted to do like this hardcore fire thing, and if you notice my bills don't include, this doesn't include like food and stuff, so you have to kind of like, food and gas. But I drive a Prius, so. Um, there's you kind of have to include food in here. I would have to add that, and then I have taxes I have to pay at the end of the year, that kind of stuff. For like home taxes, that kind of stuff. But if I ever wanted to do this whole fire thing, it's entirely possible. Um, I was kind of looking at it. So basically, the general idea, if I ever wanted to do this fire thing, um, that would be to have 316 by the beginning of the month minimum. So the way I would do that, and this is weird because of how things pay out. So you have some things that pay out a lot on the first, and you have two things that pay out in the middle. And then you have this little set of guys right here. This is a municipal bond. Then you have Cisco, JPM, that kind of thing. This is my NASDAQ tracker. This is about $48 that technically, right here, would count towards May. See how that kind of works? There's a few of these that actually do this. So they says they pay in May, but all of these kind of, you have these ones that pay towards the end of the month that might as well be paying towards So whenever I do actually, if I ever want to sit down, I did the math yesterday and I kind of figured out I would need probably about double what I have right now. If I had double what I had right now, I'd be like, okay, if I wanted to ever go hardcore fire and kind of live like I'm living like a monastery, like I'm, like a monk, um, I technically could. Technically could. That's kind of an interesting feeling, but cost of living in Louisiana is kind of cheap. And if you have a lot of money saved up in Louisiana, it's very easy to be independent. There's a lot of people that just rent property down here that are just basically effectively retired. Um, they literally just live off of rent income and then like just kind of sit by the pool all day, walk up and down New Orleans all day, and just kind of chill out. Um, my goal is definitely not to retire right now. Like I'm only in my 30s. It's kind of be ridiculous. Um, like why double this when I can triple or quadruple or quintuple or have like $1 million? Doesn't make any sense. So the goal, I guess I should write this goal down at some point somewhere, is to basically get 172 a month. And if you look at this on the estimated income, I already am kind of there, um, especially when it comes to the quarterlies. I'm easily there. Doesn't include food, obviously, but you take this plus my regular check that I get from the VA, and then there you go. Congratulations. Um, so the general idea is this is just making payments and stuff like that. So within 36 months, if you think I'm just going to pay this off as it comes in, within 36 months, whatever that equals up to, what's that? It's 3 years from now. So within 3 years, and that's if I pay this off as it comes in. I mean, I could easily just sell something, you know. I could easily pay this off now, to be honest with you, and still have this amount left over. But, if I ever did retire, I'd roll. I would have to kind of figure this out. Like I said, it's like within 3 years, I could technically retire in my 40s, my early 40s, if I wanted to. So I guess that's kind of a date to look forward to. That's something. I don't know. Even then, I would be like really bored. But there's no telling how much I would have in my portfolio by then. Um, One of my original things that I was gonna do before I got into this whole dividend growth thing is I used to only buy municipal bonds just because they pay out every month and they're tax free. So my taxable income would have technically been like basically zero. So I always thought that was interesting. Um, Maybe as I get closer to retirement, I start thinking like a boomer and I start shifting money from my stocks because there are so many stocks that just kind of trade flat. VTRS is a good example. This is one that just kind of trades flat. Maybe shift some of this back into municipal bonds. Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, there's no telling how much money I would have by then. I guess I could always figure this out. I could always just basically do something like this, drag this, and then I don't know. I would have to kind of look at it and see where I'm at. Um, I got to do one of those little graphs that show like what's my growth if I'm reinvesting my dividends or if I'm not reinvesting my dividends. I don't know, but just kind of something to keep into the back of my head as as I decide what I want to do within the next 3 years. Um, but currently, the place to be is value stocks. That's it's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just kind of the place to be. At some point, this will reverse, especially if we get back into old trade war kind of thing. Biden doesn't sound like a trade war kind of guy. He kind of sounds like a targeted sanctions kind of guy, trade deals kind of thing. Um, yeah, we'll have to kind of see where he goes with it. But I'm telling you right now, I can already tell you the next thing after the coronavirus is gone and unemployment starts to go down is they're going to start the business networks, especially, are going to start talking about China, 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 and they're going to start talking about the Fed, 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 Fed. That's all that matters. So we got to kind of see where it goes. As it stands right now, the only thing I see happening is this continued reversal of the COVID trade. And even as I've been talking, you can see This is a really good example of what's been going on. Where's it at? So if I go back here, hit refresh, this is all real time. See how it's dropping as the market kind of drops. But there's no telling. It could be an up day, it could be a down day. I'm telling you, with these rates being up a little bit, just being a little suspicious of what I've seen in the last few days, I could see it going down. But kind of have to see where the market wants to go today. It's being kind of, seeing things like Peloton up, that kind of stuff makes me think there's some kind of COVID trade going on. So it's hard to tell what the market's going to do until the EU closes. Um, but looking at the EU market right now, this is just one of them. Um, they're currently up, but I would have to go over here to see it. But see, they're currently up, so maybe, I don't know. Could be an up day, but it looks like a, yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's gonna have to be, but it's definitely one of those days where you got to kind of just look at it and see where it's gonna go. My expectation is that it ends down by the end of the day. I'm gonna use this number, and then I'm gonna feel stupid about using this number, but I don't know. I'll use one of these numbers when I finally end the video. But yeah, let me know what you think. Um, like I said, just kind of giving a quick update on the portfolio. Um, since this will be my last video before March ends, I should do this. Um, and then if you include this guy, if it ends up today, this is closer to 97, basically $9,700 in 1 month. Pretty damn good. Um, just a combination of stimulus, tax return, paychecks, a 5% market gain in 1 month, which is basically another 2.5 grand. And then also, if you look at this number over here, I went from 1550 in dividends a month up to 1972, almost $2,000 in dividends a month. Pretty, pretty freaking amazing. Nice recovery. So that is a pretty good March. Let's see. Market kind of looks like it wants to go up, so now I'm up 200. But like I said, this is all because I have a very value, and all value means is basically companies that have revenue. To be honest with you, they're just kind of these like dividend aristocrat companies are the ones that are really the what's considered value. So AT&T is a good example. Cisco's obviously, Starbucks. These kind of, but yeah, we'll see. By my next video, I'll have a check or two, so I'll add some money, maybe like $400 extra. Um, I'll mark that just so that you know what's me adding money and then what's the market adding money. Also, one thing I notice is also whenever we have an up Friday, that typically means we have a down Monday. That's just a thing I've been noticing lately. So we'll have one of these really good weeks where the market's up, 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 and then all of a sudden come Monday it'll be down, 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 and it's kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't pay attention to the daily ups and downs of this thing. It's the long term that really matters. Um, so, but let me know what you think in the comments. If you want me to go over anything, that kind of stuff, just tell me in the comments. I'll go from there. Thank you, and y'all have a nice day.